It is a day 20 of me decluttering my house every single day until I feel less overwhelmed. And today I am tackling the fridge, and there is a very good reason for this. One is the obvious: it is packed full of stuff, and actually, half this stuff is inedible, out of date, or as leftovers that have been left over for far too long. But most importantly, we have a bit of an issue with this fridge creating massive icebergs at the bottom. And at the moment, we have this massive iceberg at the back of the fridge. This fridge has like this defrosting, like frost-free function. But what that seems to mean is that every now and again, it will like thaw the back of the fridge, which will pool water in the bottom, and then that will get cold again and that water will freeze. And then that mounts up and we end up with an iceberg. That affects the temperature in the fridge. Also means that we can't put anything around that kind of back bottom area. Otherwise it starts to freeze up. We find that sometimes like our fruits and veggies that are in the bottom of the fridge will start to freeze and then go really rank, like cucumber does not fare well if it freezes, celery, that kind of thing, lettuce. You cannot freeze that kind of thing. So we need to sort this out. And I don't know why I've decided to do this immediately before Christmas. We are not hosting Christmas at our house. We do not need our fridge to be, 100% available. But it really got to me in the past couple of days. And I noticed that the almond milk that I have, new almond milk sat there, the bottom of that was starting to freeze up and attach itself to the back of the fridge. So when we had our work done on our house, we had a side extension. So this kitchen that I'm in now, it didn't exist before. It was outside space, and that's part of our two-story side extension that we had on our what was two-bed end terrace house. We had the work start basically in the very first lockdown 2020, and that meant that as we progressed with our build, we found that all sorts of things were going out of stock. There were real delivery issues, and white goods became quite a problem. So I basically had the choice of this particular built-in fridge or one that cost about 2 grand. And given that we didn't have 2 grand to spare on the fridge, I had to go with this one. And it is by a brand that I wouldn't ordinarily have chosen. I would say that normally this brand would have been a cheaper brand, but they all hiked up their prices in the pandemic. So it wasn't exactly a cheap option either. And we're a bit stuck with it now. I absolutely do not want to be forking out the money right now for a new fridge. Our goal is to move within the next, I say ideally 3 years, but we're allowing ourselves sort of 3 to 5 years to save up a bit of money to move. But ideally 3 years, we'd love to move, mostly because I struggle with working space. So my husband and I both work from home a fair bit. I am actually a home worker, so I work from home a lot. And my desk space is in the kind of downstairs open plan area of the house, which is not ideal. And also in time, we'd like our kids to have a bedroom each, where at the moment our boys share. I would say that's not massively important to us right now because our boys who are 6 and 4 love sharing. And I think if we moved house tomorrow and we had like, a bedroom each for them, they would not actively choose to have a bedroom to themselves. They'd still want to share. So while that's lovely as it is now, when they get to be a bit older, it would be great to have them, have their own space. I don't really want to have teenage boys who are sharing a room because I can imagine that will lead to all kinds of arguments and chaos. So I'm doing this particular declutter quite late at night in between cooking sausage rolls for Christmas. My husband, at the time of filming this, of doing the declutter, he is out. He's picking up his mother, who is a couple of hours drive away from us, then driving her a couple of hours away in a different direction to my sister-in-law's, her daughter, for Christmas. And then he's got to drive a couple of hours home. So there's like 6 hours of driving for him all around the country. And I've got the 3 kids are asleep and I'm cooking 3 different batches of sausage rolls while this is going on. And at this point, I think in the declutter where I started to take everything out, and I think in my head, I thought I'd take largely almost everything out. I would wipe over the shelves, get the iceberg out, and then get everything back in. But as I started to take things out, I realized that where it has been getting very frosty in the fridge, the like products have been getting stuck to the shelves, and there's lots of like bits of label, and then sticky stuff is getting stuck on the labels, and it just was a bit of a mess. So I actually had to take out more shelves than I'd expected to and give them a thorough wash. The top shelves weren't too bad because most of the issue is where the iceberg is. So those shelves I could just wipe down, and a lot of the trays on the door I could wipe down. I think you see there something flew out, and yes, it did smash everywhere. So what you can't see is that there is some kind of garlic sauce, which is, and it would be garlic, wouldn't it? Which is all over the floor. And then I realized it was all up the wall. It was on my dustpan, like a brush set. It was everywhere, basically. So I cut out a lot of me cleaning that up. But there we go. These things happen when you are trying to rush around. And as I said in a previous video, my 4-year-old has been poorly the last few days. He's had a temperature. I think it's started to break now, and he is definitely on the mend. So he's a lot better, but still my fear here was that a child would wake up, and I suddenly thought, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And trying to do so much while my husband is out, because if anyone wakes up now, what am I going to do? So my plan had been to just do this as quickly as possible so that the food stays cold. It is cool in the house in the evening. The heating has been off for some time, so the house is much cooler. That's why I'm wearing this like massive oversized hoodie, because it is pretty chilly. But even then, I don't want the food out of the fridge for very long, and my intention is not to let this iceberg like naturally thaw out. I'm going to have to prise it from the back of the fridge in order to speed up this process. So at this point, I'm starting to get a bit worried, and it turned out that worry was well-founded, because my 2-year-old woke up with a fever. She didn't luckily wake up until after I had got everything back in the fridge. But after I'd finished filming and I was getting the sausage rolls into tubs put in the fridge, she woke up. She clearly had a temperature. She's clearly picked up what my 4-year-old has had. Right on the cusp of Christmas, of course. Poor thing. So I ended up having to bring her downstairs, just sort of calm her and wake her up a little bit so that she was calm enough to take some ibuprofen. I find that ibuprofen, the kids' ibuprofen, works way better on temperatures than the Calpol, but I just generally alternate both when they're poorly in the hope that, anything eases their pain. She cheered up really quickly. I changed her out of her winter tog sleeping bag, put her in a lighter one, and then she slept with me, basically, bless her. And she did get a bit of sleep. We all got a bit of sleep, but it's been one of those weeks with poorly kids. I'm just getting over, I assume the same thing, but it hasn't hit me as bad as you'd expect, because I've got a better immune system. So just showing you now, this is the sausage roll making process. But also what happens when you're doing one job is that the rest of the house ends up in, I'm not going to say chaos, but I've got the dishwasher open there that I'm filling up. I've got sausage rolls behind me, which are on cooling racks. I've got a bag at the back of the kitchen, which has got stuff in it that we're starting to pack to take away with us for Christmas, because we're going to my sister-in-law's for Christmas, having Christmas with my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law at her house. We've got an Airbnb booked nearby. My husband's brother and his wife and kids also live nearby, so that we'll all be together at various points of like Christmas Day, Boxing Day. So I've got everything on the go here. I do cheat when I make my sausage rolls. I'd love to make my own pastry. My mum makes her own pastry and it tastes amazing. But at the moment, we just don't have the capacity for that in life. So I buy the like ready rolled pastry, and I just get like the nicest sausages, the ones that we like, the nicest sausages with the like best kind of quality pork and pork content. And then I cut them. I don't bother taking them out of their skins. I find it's absolutely fine with them in their skins. I just cut them up, roll them up in the pastry, bit of egg wash on top. And I'm trying for the first time cooking them in the air fryer. This is new to us. We got this in the Black Friday sales. And actually, they turned out really good. The first batch I did were vegetarian ones, because one of my sister-in-laws is vegetarian and I didn't want to be cleaning out the air fryer in between. So I thought, well, I better cook those first, because like if you're a vegetarian, you don't want your vegetarian sausage rolls cooked in on the same tray as the meat ones and not have had it washed, right? But I hadn't checked it properly, and I basically slightly overcooked them. My husband's tried one. He assures me it's not too dry, but I've tried one and I think they're too dry. But there we go. There's now insufficient time to buy all the stuff to make another batch. So sadly for her, they are not the best ones. And then I adjusted the timing for the meat ones and they came out much better. I would definitely use the air fryer to cook sausage rolls in future. I found it way easier. So now that the last batch of sausage rolls is in, it's time to just clean those last shelves at the top, which I'm not going to take the stuff out. So I've just left a few bits in that I know absolutely is going to stay. But where there's like quite a lot of condensation on items, I've given them a little bit of a dry. So the aim next is to get that great big iceberg out and then get everything back in, as I am starting to get a little bit stressed. When I dropped the garlic sauce, that didn't make much of a noise, but I heard one of my kids started to mumble in their sleep. So I've got a couple of baby monitors behind me on the kitchen island. We still have a monitor in our boys' bedroom because then they know that we can hear them if they need us in the night, and then they tend not to get up in the night. Especially my 6-year-old, he's a bit scared of the dark and he doesn't like to get up to us. So he prefers to call out to us on the monitor, and that's working well as it is. I think in the next couple of years, they'll be probably a bit too old to have the monitor in the room and need a bit more privacy, so that we will, when they're happy for us to do so, we'll move the monitor out of the boys' room. Obviously for now we definitely have a monitor in my 2-year-old's room. She's still in a cot. She's only just turned 2, so we need that so that we can hear her properly. So as you can see now, I'm starting to really wrestle with this iceberg. The back of the shelf that had been sitting where it's formed is actually stuck in it. And what I've done before is basically tried to move that back bit of the shelf. And when I've got that dislodged, the iceberg comes with it. So I've just got a butter knife out and I'm just sort of chipping away at the edges. I've got a couple of big chunks of the ice off in the process, which I'm just popping straight into the sink to defrost there. And then my aim is to just sort of dislodge the whole thing and then pull that out. And oh my goodness, this was the biggest iceberg we have managed to form in this fridge. Now, I have done this kind of defrost just a few months ago. So it doesn't take masses of time for it to form to that kind of size. And this is basically an exercise that we need to be doing more regularly, even if we're just removing the stuff from the bottom of the fridge. But it's been so hard to find the time to do it because I find, when I do end up doing it, it's always a much bigger job having to clear out the fridge. And when they are big tasks like that, it's really hard to find the time to do so. But I think with this whole like decluttering episodes that I'm doing, and the fact that I've been every day trying to declutter something, it's given me that real kind of push, momentum to get on top of things, get these jobs done, and the things that I've been putting off doing. And it's not like I sit in the evening and watch hours of television. Like I've never been somebody who really sits for much time. I'm just always constantly filling my time with something or other. And the kids are, never sleeping properly and we're always exhausted. And I have to say that it was like midnight when my 2-year-old woke up with the temperature. And by that point, I was nowhere near ready to go to bed. And lately I have been going to bed at like 1 a.m. and it's really not ideal. I'm not getting enough sleep. I really need to be getting myself in bed by 11 at the latest. And it would be nice if I could have some like wind down time, read a few pages of a book in bed before I go to sleep. I really, really need to get some better sleep habits. And that's really going to be my number one goal for next year, is to get in a better sleep habit, better sleep pattern. And I think then everything in life will improve when I'm getting a bit more sleep. But for so long, we've had really young children and we've just got really used to not having the sleep that we're now sort of used to functioning always tired. But 100% we will all function better if we're getting more sleep. And when my 2-year-old is not poorly, she's sleeping much better than she used to. She's not perfect. She doesn't sleep through the night every night, but we do get more nights than we ever did before where she will sleep through the night. So just racing now to get everything back in the fridge before any small people wake up and before my husband gets home, turning that fridge back on, setting it again. If you have any tips for stopping this iceberg from forming, please let me know. So here we go. Here is the finished product. It could have been better. I could have got everything out. I could have given everything a really super deep clean, but that just wasn't possible with the time I had. However, in the time that I had, I managed to clear a massive bin bag full of out of date food. I have a real habit of saving leftovers and then never eating the leftovers. So I really should just bin the leftovers in the first instance. But yeah, I mean, I don't regularly throw away food, and it has been a while since we have probably cleared out this fridge. We are not throwing food away every week. I forgot to actually show you the bag of the stuff that we got rid of. But here is the sausage rolls, and here's the vegetarian batch, which is terrible. Have a lovely Christmas, guys. I'm going to be taking a few days off, and I will see you on the other side. Bye.